Hi there, and welcome to my mini course of React Styled Components. My name is Rodney Wanswegger, and today I will show you a live example of how to use React Styled Components in a live application. But before we're going into that, let's have a look about the history of Styled Components. It was released back in 2017, and it became a very popular CSS and JavaScript solution. It basically means that we can separate our CSS from style sheets into JavaScript, and our components actually contain the JavaScript now per component. So let's have a look at certain advantages and disadvantages of styled components. First of all, for the advantages, it encapsulates your CSS and JavaScript, and thus you don't have the problem anymore with naming and specificity issues. I think we all had this problem before. You name something like class card, and suddenly it doesn't work how you expect it anymore. Turns out somebody in a totally different style sheet overrides your card class. Well, this is like history. With CSS and JavaScript, and especially style components, you will never have this problem anymore, which is pretty neat. Second of all, we have type checking. So all the variables that we declare within our theme, we can actually make certain when we use an IDE that we get IntelliSense to help us out. It supports theming right out of the box. And we can name any HTML element the way you like. So we don't have to write many divs in a row, like 6-7 divs nested in each other. But we can just say like card left section, card right section, card image, etc. Which is also pretty neat, I think. The main disadvantages, it's not framework independent. Right now it only works with React. And it's a bit slower because it's compiled at runtime in JavaScript. So let's look at some official at the official website of Styled Components. It's over here, and they have pretty good documentation if you go there. Furthermore, it became a really popular package. It was released back in 2017, and you can see its popularity growing. So let's get started and look how we can actually use Styled Components. See you there. So welcome back, and let's get started with React Styled Components. I have set up a repository that actually has the starting files to make things a little bit easier for us. So it's just a create React app application with two branches, the starter files and the main. And of course we'll start from the starter files, but if you get stuck, please look at the main as all the code is there and it's working. So let's clone the repository. I'll open up my terminal and I will do a git clone and then the URL. That works. So I cd into Styled Components intro and I will open it up in Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE, but if you have Visual Studio Code on Windows, you can get the alias. You can just press a period and it will open the current folder. So what we'll be doing, we'll be installing the packages, which will take some time. Since it's a create React app application, you can just start it by running npm start in a moment later on. So I'm using TypeScript. If you're unfamiliar with it, please look at the documentation. If you use JavaScript, most of the time you just have to remove some typings. Once it's finished installing, we can run npm start and we should actually see the website. It's a small card which I took the design from Frontend Mentors. So if you like the design, please check them out. They have some really good stuff for Frontend. All right, so see you in the next lecture. All right, so now that we actually have the website up and running, we are going to replace this header of perfume into Styled Components. First things first, we are still working on the main branch. We want to start from the starter files. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to stash that. And here we are. So if we go to app.tsx, we can actually see a header here called perfume. Before we can start putting it into styled components, we first need to install the package. So npm install save styled components. And because I'm actually using TypeScript, I will also install the definitely type definitions for styled components. So as a def dependency, add types / styled components. If everything goes correctly there, we will see in our package.json that we have styled components 5.8.3.8 and the def dependencies for the typings at 5.1.26. Your versions might vary a little bit depending on when you actually follow this tutorial. As long as you're higher, there shouldn't be any problem. So let's see, we're first going to create a folder called components. And within there, I will make a file called spacer header because the text is a little bit spaced. I didn't really find a better name for it. There we go. So first things first, what we have to do is to actually create a component. So I will use const export const space header e, which is part of React functional components. And later we're going to put the typing in here, but we'll still wait a little bit for that. So that is an arrow function which actually takes some UI and we get a return statement with header 1. Oh, header 1. Header 1. Let me put some text here. Text. So this is the basic version because we actually want to put some text inside of this header. What we are going to do is to introduce a type called space header props equal sign. We get a text which is the type string. So let's put it in there as a generic, and we can destructure the props as text. So anything that I throw in here right now will be text. Okay. So let's actually first import this and see what will happen. So if we go back over here and I will remove this, and import my space header with a text of perfume and it's self-closing. We'll import it, headers, and I think I still had it running. Yes, so if we go here right now, refresh the page, nothing will change. Why? Because if we look in the SAS file, where's my styles, we can see that for H1 within the card right section, H1 will always be formatted like that. Now what we want to do, we want to use styled components, so we're going to take this away from here. So let me just copy the styles for a second and remove this. And we'll see that perfume is actually rendered as a header 1. We go to space header, and now I'm going to use styled components. So I say const space header UI equals styled. And here's the interesting thing. So note that I import styles from styled components, and once we actually use styled, we can use period, and we have all HTML elements, like everything you can think of. In our case, we want to use H1, so this is actually what formats this as a H1 later. After that, we will have to use two backticks, which is next to the one character if you use a QWERTY keyboard, and within there we can just paste our styles. As you can see, this is not very easy to read, so we have an extension called styled components. And that's this one. VS Code styled components. Once we install that, we actually get nice highlighting again, just like we used to within style sheets. All right, so that's done. And here we go, voila. To use this, we can now get rid of this h1 tag, and we can actually render the text inside of it. That's basically what we're going to do here. So let's save it. And if we go here, we've already done that. We have imported it. So now it should work correctly again. There we go. Do note that if I make this a div, it will be a div. So if I do inspect right here, we can see h1 is actually rendered here. If we change this to div, we will see that over here it will be rendered as a div. There we go. It's a div now. So that's basically the basics of styled components. So what we do, we use the styled, and then we actually say what kind of element do we want to use. We use two backticks, and from there on we can actually type. So this is very simple. Let's do some little bit more complicated things right now in the next video. And we're going to move the card with the left and the right section here and here into its own styled components. See you then. So now that we actually extracted this title in its own component, let's now have a look at the card component. It's basically a container with a left side and a right side. So let's actually get some work done with that. So if we look over here, we have a class name called card, and within card we can see that it is a flexbox with some width and height and some other stuff around it. So what we are going to do is to first make the card .tsx, and within here we're going to say const styled card container equals styled, and if we look within app, we actually saw that it's a div, so we will use the div element from styled and to backticks. We can copy over the styles from card and save this. So if we look at the site right now, it's complaining that I still have this unfinished, so we can copy it here and import styled components card container UI. So let's export it as in const card container, which will be of type React functional component with a generic, which is an arrow function. So what we are actually going to do, if we look at app, is that we're going to put children in here. So we're going to create a type, and since we will need it for the other two as well, we're going to make it generic, saying type children only props. And within that, we will only specify we have children, which are always a JSX.element. So let's put it in here. Children only props. We have to destructure it. Children. Okay, and let's return it. Return card container UI. Card container UI, and in there we return children. All right. So within app, we're now going to replace this with card container. It doesn't find it. That's interesting. Did I not export it? No. I did not export it. Okay, so let's export it and then import it. Okay, and it's a second last div, so this will become end of card container. Now it's complaining that we only expect a single child element, and we actually want it because of React always only wanted to have one element to index the whole tree. Move this up and align it, and let's see what it actually works. Since I already deleted the styles, it should still look the same. And it does, except for the corners, but we'll get to that later. So, since you've done this one, let's move to the next part where we are going to implement the left and the right section. See you there. Welcome back, and let's continue actually dividing the card container with the left and the right section. So, as you can see within my styles is that we have some overlapping styles between the left and right. So we're first going to extract it into a base class for styled components, and then we'll inherit from it both the left and the right side. So let's have a look. Let's first go to card.tsx, and we're going to make a new generic base style, which will be card side. Will be styled, and we will use a div for that. Backticks, and these are the styles that we actually want to have on the base. So let me actually get on a new line like this. So now that we have the base styles, we want to extend it for the left side. So we can use card left side UI, and we inherit from styled card side. So as you can notice, we can say styled. We open like the parentheses like a function, and we put card side inside to extend it. From there, we can use backticks again, and we can put any styles on there that we actually want to put there. In this case, that will be the border and the image styles. So I'll copy it, and I will put it on there. Okay, now it's nice. So I'm going to copy the card container, and I'll change it a little bit to adjust for the card left side. We still have the children only props. We destructured the children. We just want to render something different here. Okay, so let's actually go to app, and we can replace this. Get rid of this one. Let's import it. Okay, and let's save it. Let's have a look. That seems really beautiful. It's not totally there yet, but you're getting the idea. Let me actually order this a little bit. So now let's also do the right section. So within the right section, we have quite a lot of styles, and we're not going to extract everything because it's an H2, a P, but we will do the price container later. Oh no, not price, that button container, sorry. So let's have a look. We're going to get rid of this. I don't want too many. And we go into card. So we can actually do basically the same thing again. We do const card right side UI, which is part of styled, and we're going to extend card side. You can extend it many times as you want, of course. So let's put it in here, get rid of the extra bracket that we had, and let's align it a little bit. Okay. So for the right side, we're going to copy this again. And we do card, I don't need to do the whole word, right side. We have children only props, we destructure it, and we're going to use the right side of things. So within here, we can now get rid of card right section. Use card right side UI, not UI. It's without UI, that's the style component itself, not the thing we were exporting. Card right side, it doesn't find it, card right side with a capital R. Okay, Now it should be able to auto import. As you can notice, I never write an import myself. I always want auto import to take care of it. We can only have one child element. That's true because in the tree we usually only want to have one element to index it. So now it should work. Oh, I messed this up, sorry. Okay, and within the styles I will remove everything related to the right and the left section. Save. You can see that we actually have everything here. I did notice that I copied a little bit too much, and that is the button container. So let's actually move that back into styles. I was just a little bit too enthusiastic. Let's try it again. Oh, there it is. Beautiful. Right, next up, we're going to talk about theming, one of the most powerful features of installed components. I hope to see you there. So, welcome back. And if you actually noticed in the previous lesson, this text used to be green, right? Right now we moved it to styled components and we actually lost its color. So let's have a look why that is. We defined several variables in our SAS style sheet before, which includes also the primary color. Now, if I have a look within card.tsx, we can actually see that I did have it here, but it has no idea what it is. So let's talk about how we can actually theme things within styled components. Theming can be done by creating a file that will actually type the definitions for styled components. So what we can do is within TypeScript we can use style.d.ts, and we are going to override or extend actually the themings of styled components itself. So what we can do, we can say import, and then we use styled components. Then we declare a module which is styled components, and within that module we will export an interface called default theme. I really just got this from the documentation, so please refer to the documentation if you want to know more about it. But from within here, we can actually define all our variables that we want. So in my case, I want to have a subset with colors, which I can make an object. And I can as deep as I want. I can also put everything just on the top level. It's all up to you. Now, to avoid typos, I will import this one. Style D. And let's move this up. So we get rid of that, this, that, and that. Now we are working in JavaScript, so we will use camel case for this. Primary color, oh that's a typo. Primary color hover. We get header color, and we get color. So what we actually want to do, it's a typing file, so this will not be a value but a string, and this will be a comma. String, comma. String, comma. And of course we can also use this. Let's keep it fast. String. Alright, so this is basically the interface that we are going to use for styled components. Now, of course, we also actually need to make a file in which we can set the values. So I'll make a new folder called themes, and within themes I will make a green theme.ts. It's a React file, so we can use TS. What I will do in there I will say const blue theme will be part of the default theme, which gets imported from start components, and we just declared actually like how that will look like. So let's actually finish up typing it. I'm pretty lazy as always, so let's say colors. Now let's just copy it so that we are certain we're not going to make any typos. Where did I have it? Starty. Here it is. Okay. And let's actually use the values. Now I'm really not too certain about them, so let's copy them over. The background color. Alright. And the primary color. And they have to be strings actually, because it's JavaScript, of course. So we get a primary color hover. We get primary color, header color. And we get text color. Pretty neat. Should be good to go, but I did find I made a mistake copying this value. Like this. Alright. So this does take a little time to set up, but soon you'll see the real power of this. We can't use a semicolon there. We should put it here. And it should be exported, of course. Export blue theme. So to be able to actually use this, we can import it somewhere within our application. I like to do it in index, but you could also do it in app or whenever you want to use your variables. There's something called a theme provider, and within the theme provider, we will provide a theme. In our case, this will be the green theme. And it's not finding it for some reason. Let me have a look at that later. Okay, and let's see why it didn't find it. Green theme. Because I named it blue theme over here. That's fine. Green theme. All right. Now let's import it, and we can actually do it. So we now have the theme injected within our application, and now it will become really easy to go to our card component and say that we actually want to use our theme variables. So to do that, we have a dollar sign with two curly brackets, and within there we can use an arrow function. So theme props, but you're free to call it anything you want. Theme props dot theme dot, and now we can see all the top level things that we actually specified. So if I do colors, and now I can say I want to have the primary color here, then it's all typed. You can't make any mistake in it anymore. You can't make a typo. It will complain to you immediately. If I'm suddenly British, it will complain to me. No, it's primary color. And I think there's another one, the header color. So let me copy this and put in header color. Header color. Header color. Let's save it. And voila, it's green again. So that's basically what we can do with theming. I do agree it's a little bit of a pain to set up in the beginning, but let's actually make a blue theme right now. So we call this blue theme.ts. Blue theme. I'm not going to change everything. I'm just going to change this to blue. With a small letter, and that should be fine. And within index, I'm going to put this on blue theme as well. Blue theme. Let's have a look. It's not picking it up. Why not? Look at blue theme again. Blue theme is being important for blue theme. Color. Oh, this is the hover. Let me actually put it on the primary color as well. Out the hashtag. Now it should work. It's blue. So as you can see, this works pretty well. And what you actually could do, especially for SaaS applications, you could first make a call to your database to see what color a user would actually need. And you can use simple things like use state and use effect to actually render down the whole tree. If you want to have dark mode, you just have to make another theme and it's all arranged. So it's pretty neat, pretty neat stuff. So let's actually finish up the application within our next lecture, and I hope to see you there. Welcome back. In the last lecture we actually did some theming, and I am going to change this back to green in a moment. But in this lecture we're going to look at the button. So we have a green button. Once we hover it will become a bit darker, and I also want to set a disabled state. So let's have a look at how we can do this within the styled components. So first of all, I really didn't like the blue theme, so we go back to the green theme. Right, and get rid of this. Nice. So basically within app.tsx we have a simple button container with a button. We can actually get rid of button container. Button actually has some styles which says it will be with 100%, and then all the button styles with some variables. So what we'll do first is we make a new file called button.tsx. And you might want to be a little bit more explicit what kind of button this is, but in this case for me it does not really matter too much. So let's actually start by exporting a const called button, which is part of a React functional component which has a type. We'll come to that in a second, and then we'll use an arrow function return. We have to wait there for a moment. So we're going to use an interface at this time. I will tell you why in a moment, but let's first type it out and see what kind of problems we are going to face. So we're going to call it button props, and button props contains text which is of the type string. Following up, we need to make our styled components. So what we can do is const button UI, and I will make it styled, import it of course, and we're going to say it's a button. Okay, and within here we are going to copy all the styles that we had left. So that would be this part. All right, so let's have a look. Let's import it here. Format it. We say button UI, and button UI has a text. So we need to put in button props, and we also have to destructure text. All right, let's have a look. We can delete this. We don't need that anymore. And there's an empty card here. We can delete that as well. So we just have container left. And let's go to app.txt. I have too many files open, so I close them all. App. Within here we can actually get our button, component button. I think that's what I meant with give it a good name. And we have to provide a text with this add to card. This can be self-closing. We don't really need that. Okay, so let's have a look. Moment of truth. It is working, but hey, where are my colors? So if we go back to button, we can see, oh yeah, we were using those kind of variables. We don't want that. So let's do theme props, which is an arrow function, theme props dot theme dot colors dot primary, I think it was. Yeah, I think so. So I can copy this over and put it here, and also have a hover, and the hover state will be a different color, which will be primary color hover. So by doing that, if we go back, hey, we have the same kind of thing. Now there is a kind of a small problem with this approach, and I'll show you why. If we go to app.tsx and I want to set the disabled state, disabled equals true or disabled. It now actually gives me a problem like this is not allowed, intrinsic attributes and button props. So what is this? This is like a standard attribute on an HTML element. Why isn't it allowed? If we look at a Titan button props, we are actually saying the only thing we expect to be passed as an attribute is text, nothing else. So we could say disabled is either a boolean or a string, I think the typing would be. But this will become very cumbersome, especially if we're going to use things like placeholders, titles. We need to think of everything. We can't do that. So I already told you we're using interface because we actually want to extend it, and it extends a React component props component props without reference. So if we do this, we just have to give a generic saying what kind of HTML element we actually want to get a typing for, and this will be a button. So by doing that, if I do this, it's also not complaining anymore. Now we didn't define any styles here, but let's first inspect it. It is not disabled here right now, but if I do disabled, just as then it should be disabled. Let's have a look. It says not. Okay, let's have a look. Let's first actually do the disabled. And within disabled, we're going to give it a color of 666,777, and we're going to give it a background color of light gray, just so we can actually see that it's being grayed out. Let's see what it actually gets it. Not yet. So I didn't do something right. Button, what was I doing wrong? Button, disabled, text to card. This should work. Button, text to card, button UI, button. We import button from here, button, yeah, from button. Should work. Why not? Let's have a look. I did something wrong somewhere, but I can't seem to find it. Button props, text. Oh, of course, I need to prop spread everything. So that's kind of something that I forget here. We use the props, that is prop spreading, and we're going to put it on here, props as well. And of course, we need to do that with a context. Let's have a look. And now it actually does work. So my bad, but this kind of problems happen with encoding. So let's have a look at one of the last two lessons and see you there. Welcome back to the last lesson of this mini course. So what we actually can see within app.tsx is that we still have one regular style called container, and we also got some global styles. So we'll be dealing with both of them. Then we can also delete our variables. So first of all, let's actually get rid of the container. So what we're going to do is we make a container.tsx, and you don't really have to do this. You can also do half regular style sheets, half like style components. It's just your preference. So within here, let's actually export a const called container, which is a React functional component. Okay. Of course, it's gonna get children again. So to save us some time, I will just copy this and put it in here. So the generic will be children only props. And within there, we're going to do a return statement. But before we can actually type that, we have to type the style component above it. So we'll make a const called container UI, which is part of style. All right, and that's a div. And in there, we're going to copy the styles actually from container over here, and we'll immediately delete that. So if we look at it right now, oh, we can't. Sorry. So if we go in here, we're going to say return container UI with children, but we do have to do structure now. So without here, we get children. Okay, now everything should work. And we can see that nothing is aligned correctly now, but once we put in the container here, it will. So let's put in container. And also here, put in container. Look, and it works nice. So the last part that I actually want to show you for style components within this course is to create global styles. And you could make like a separate folder for it. For now, I'll just put it within the themes and I call it global style.ts. Not React, so we can just use a TS extension. What I'll do is const global style, which is a create global style from styled components. And within there, we can use two backticks and do whatever we actually want to do there. So let's copy over this part. And let's get rid of that. Okay. So let's put this in here. And of course, we're going to get the same problem again. We were using variables, and now we're going to do that with the way from the theming of styled components again. So we get an arrow function theme props, and within theme props, we do a theme dot colors dot background color semicolon. And we're going to do the same but for text color, but then with the variable for text color. So background color we can delete, and then we do text color. So this should work. We do have to export it, and then we put it within our index. So let's put it, we have to do it within the theme provider. So let's put it here, global so we can import global style. Let me think of this. We could put it here, import it. So let's put it in here, global. I did think I made it. I do want to make it a capital. So let's put it in here as global style. Global style. Let's import it. We do have to put it in a theme provider as said earlier, and with that it should be ready to go. We do of course have to remove our style sheet. We don't want it anymore. And if we go to, I think I imported it within app, we can totally get rid of it. And there you go. We now have the whole application built within styled components. Now, there's a lot more to it, and it has excellent documentation, so you could actually go there and have a look if you want to know more. But these are the basics of it, and especially the theming part, which is very nice with TypeScript. Let's do one more thing. We have a package called SAS. We don't want it, and we can actually get rid of that. So let's do npx remref to delete our node modules folder, and then we'll reinstall it and run the application again. It does take a little while. So let's install all the packages. Node.sass is basically a pretty heavy package which has undergone a lot of changes. It became a lot better than before, but it does compile into a lot of stuff for your project. So to decrease the bundle size a little bit, let's just get rid of it and see whether everything still works, just to confirm. Right, npm start. Then it will launch. And there you go. Right, awesome. So thank you for watching this mini course, and I hope you liked it. And let me know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you and have a good day.